Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something really deep and honestly often quite painful. It's this paradox, right? How love in our closest relationships can feel so genuine 1 minute and then just false. The next, it creates this really unsettling feeling deep down, you know?
Really does.
Like one of our sources said, man cannot live without love.
Oh.
His life is senseless. We're all looking for that lasting love, that whole feeling, not something that feels fractured.
Yeah.
But when you get both kindness and then, boom, real hurt from the same connection, your heart just aches. You know something's off, something's missing, or maybe even broken.
And that ache, that deep confusion, that's exactly what we want to unpack today. Our mission here in this deep dive is to explore this whole dynamic using a really helpful framework. It's a soul-centered look rooted in Christian understanding.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something really deep and honestly often quite painful. It's this paradox, right? How love in our closest relationships can feel so genuine 1 minute and then just false. The next, it creates this really unsettling feeling deep down, you know?
Really does.
Like one of our sources said, man cannot live without love.
Oh.
His life is senseless. We're all looking for that lasting love, that whole feeling, not something that feels fractured.
Yeah.
But when you get both kindness and then, boom, real hurt from the same connection, your heart just aches. You know something's off, something's missing, or maybe even broken.
And that ache, that deep confusion, that's exactly what we want to unpack today. Our mission here in this deep dive is to explore this whole dynamic using a really helpful framework. It's a soul-centered look rooted in Christian understanding. Specifically, we'll be drawing quite a bit from St. John Paul II's theology of the body. Now, for anyone not familiar, this isn't just like abstract theology. It's a really rich way of understanding God's plan for love, how our bodies even tell a story about our calling to love.
Yeah.
So we'll look at why this mixed love happens, the signs, what it does to you, and crucially, some tools for discernment.
Right, tools to navigate it. And as we get into these really tender, often painful waters, we need some kind of standard, right? A benchmark.
Exactly.
So we're using the Christian vision of authentic love as our litmus test. It gives us a lens, like you said, maybe like an X-ray, to see what's really going on underneath it all.
That's a great way to put it, an X-ray.
Yeah.
So when we talk about authentic, holy love, St. John Paul II points to 4 key qualities. He taught that real love, God's design for it, is meant to be free, total, faithful, and fruitful. These aren't just nice ideas. They're like the pillars of what Christian tradition calls a covenant, a sacred bond.
Okay, free, total, faithful, fruitful. Let's break those down. What do they actually look like day to day?
Okay, so free means it's given willingly. No pressure, no manipulation, no feeling like you have to. It's a gift, pure and simple.
Right.
Total means it's complete.
Yeah.
You give your whole self, hold nothing back. And they offer their whole self to you. It's that complete self-gift.
Okay, that's huge. And then faithful and fruitful, they sound like really deep commitments.
Oh, they absolutely are. Faithful is about that exclusive devotion, sticking with it through everything. Unwavering loyalty and fruitful. It means life-giving. Generative. Now that includes openness to children, yes, but it's broader too. It means spiritual growth, bringing out the best in each other, inspiring goodness, basically making the world better because your love exists.
Wow.
These 4, all together, they mirror God's love for us. Our love is supposed to reflect that. And if any one of these is missing or seriously compromised, well, the love, no matter how intense it feels, it falls short. It's not what it's truly called to be.
So it's not just about good vibes or feeling connected sometimes. You might have real moments, that spark, but if, say, the faithfulness isn't there, or it's not really a total gift, it's only partial love.
Exactly.
That spark can feel so real, but you're saying it's kind of false. Because it's not the whole picture. Can you maybe give an example where that spark feels genuine, but it's dangerous somehow?
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, isn't it? Because the feelings are often real. Think about someone who's incredibly passionate, makes you feel totally seen and desired, but then they just won't commit.
Yeah.
Or they avoid any talk about a future together.
Okay.
Or maybe they're super kind when things are good, but the moment you actually need them, they lie or just vanish. The danger is that intense feeling, that emotional high, it can blind you. You don't see the missing pieces. The lack of freedom, maybe, your totality or faithfulness. The feelings are real, but love's foundation. shaky, like sand. And one of our sources puts it starkly. Authentic love demands real expense, not warm, fuzzy feelings. It costs something. Sacrifice, like Christ's love. So when someone's actions contradict the truth of love, if they're dishonest, unfaithful, fundamentalist, selfish, then even if there are tender moments, something false has crept in. Something that isn't really covenant love.
Which brings us to that really baffling thing for so many people. How can you get genuine tenderness and then like really selfish behavior from the exact same person? That kindness and then cruelty. It's like spiritual whiplash.
It is. And that confusion points to something Christian wisdom talks about a lot. This duality within us. Every single person is made in God's image. That means we are capable of real self-giving love. Fundamentally capable.
All right.
But we're also fallen, prone to sin, prone to selfishness. So someone can genuinely care about you, mean it sincerely in many moments, but still, sometimes be more concerned about himself.
Like that husband example. He loved his wife, genuinely, but admitted, truthfully, I was more concerned about myself. His love was real, but so was his self-interest, and that undermined everything.
Precisely. It's this constant battle inside us, between grace and sin. We might want to love totally, freely, faithfully, fruitfully, but our own stuff gets in the way. Pride, fear, lust, insecurity, anger, all those things can erode the love we want to give. So a guy might feel real tenderness, but if his ego gets bruised, boom, he pulls back into selfishness. A woman might adore her partner, but start manipulating things when she feels insecure. Or she puts her own immediate desires ahead of their shared commitment.
So it's not just good person or bad person. It's more complicated. It's like a division within them. What's the root of that battle you mentioned?
Yeah, and St. John Paul II, in Love and Responsibility, he gives us such a clear insight here. He says the opposite of loving someone isn't hating them.
Yeah.
It's using them. Using them as a means to your own end.
Using them?
Yeah. And in those moments, those utilitarian moments, a deep falsehood enters the picture. The other person stops being this sacred someone you cherish and becomes a something for you, for comfort, pleasure, ego, security, whatever. Even if there are genuine moments of care, these moments of use create a massive contradiction.
Right.
So the person sending those mixed signals, they might love in their own limited way because they are capable of love. But as the source says, they have not allowed that love to purify their character. They give affection when it's easy, maybe, or when it benefits them. But when love demands sacrifice, they revert back to self-interest.
Right.
That internal split, that war between real love and ego, that's what spills out and leaves you feeling confused and hurt. They aren't pure evil, no. But they aren't loving you with their whole heart either. They're divided.
Okay, so love isn't static. It's meant to grow, right? To deepen, bear good fruit. How do we spot the signs when that growth stops, or when it's actually going backward, away from that free, total, faithful, fruitful ideal? What are the red flags?
Yeah, there are definitely signs, and often they're painful to see. The first big one is a loss of freedom and peace. Real love, even when it's hard, brings a sense of freedom, a sense of peace. If you feel controlled, constantly pressured, manipulated, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, scared to be honest, scared to just be you, that's a huge red flag. One source calls it a key warning sign when you're actually afraid to bring up difficult topics, afraid of how they'll react or if they'll just leave.
Ooh, that fear.
Yeah.
Constantly performing instead of just being, that's exhausting.
Totally exhausting. Another major sign, stagnation, a decline in that total gift of self. In a healthy, growing love, intimacy deepens. You feel more known, more accepted, warts and all.
Yeah.
But if you or your partner are holding back big parts of yourselves, if the relationship just feels stuck, not getting closer, not sharing vulnerabilities, that shows love isn't becoming that total gift. And if it just becomes about using each other for sex, for comfort, for status, whatever, without real self-giving, it can't flourish.
Yeah.
St. John Paul II warned about this. If it's mostly about mutual benefit, once it stops being advantageous, love will be no more. It means it wasn't truly love to begin with.
So it's not just what's missing, but what's actively breaking down, which leads us to the foundation, right? The erosion of faithfulness and trust.
Absolutely critical. Any breach of trust, lies, cheating, constantly breaking promises, just being fundamentally unreliable, those are massive warning signs. Trust is like the invisible glue. Without it, love just drowns in suspicion and anxiety. You're always tense, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And if your partner consistently puts other people or other things way ahead of their commitment to you, that exclusivity, that devotion that defines faithfulness, it's clearly missing.
Okay, and the last one, lack of fruit. no growth, no positive results. Like a tree that's supposed to bear good fruit.
Exactly. You have to ask yourself honestly, is this love making me a better person? Is it inspiring virtue, joy, peace, growth towards God? Or is bearing bitter fruit?
Bitter fruit? Like what?
Like constant stress, distraction from what matters, maybe even leading you into moral compromises, feeling distant from God, or just distant from your true self. If the relationship feels barren, stuck in the same arguments over and over with no real change, that's a sign love is stalled. If it makes you turn inward, isolates you instead of reaching out, its fruitfulness is definitely questionable. Seeing these signs, it's hard, really hard. But it's also the first step toward either healing the relationship or having the courage to let it go.
And living in that dynamic, the mixed signals, the up and down, what's the actual toll? It sounds incredibly draining, like being at war inside yourself.
It is profoundly draining. Living in that state where love and unlove are all mixed up, it creates huge internal turmoil. It hits your identity, your spirit, your peace. The first and maybe most sneaky effect is confusion and self-doubt. You're constantly asking, was that real? Was that moment of kindness genuine, or was it just fake?
Yeah.
It eats away at your confidence. You start doubting your own gut feelings, your own worth. Maybe you even think, am I just too needy, too sensitive? But remember, as the source says, God is not the author of confusion. That deep fog you feel, it's often a direct symptom of the contradictory reality you're in.
Then there's the emotional side, the turmoil and anxiety, just being on this constant roller coaster.
Exactly. The highs can feel so good, so addictive almost. But the lows are crushing. It creates this cycle, this addictive cycle where you hang on, just desperate for the good phase to come back and maybe stay this time.
Right.
But the anxiety simmering underneath, it just grows. It makes it hard to trust God sometimes. Hard to find peace, hard to even think clearly. You might even feel ashamed, for letting it happen again.
And it must just wear you down. Your sense of self-worth, that erosion of dignity and joy.
But absolutely, it's inevitable. Every time your trust gets broken or your real needs get ignored, you absorb this painful message. I'm not worthy of consistent, wholehearted love. It can lead to this sort of low-grade spiritual depression, maybe even numbness.
Wow.
Your natural spark dims, your joy fades. It's like that famine of the heart. Mother Teresa talked about this deep soul hunger for love that just gets worse, ironically, even when you're in a relationship. And tragically, living like this can even twist how you see God. You might start wondering if His love is also conditional, also unreliable.
And spiritually, it sounds like it just stunts your growth. You're not being pulled closer to God in this.
It absolutely can. Instead of growing closer, you might feel distant, maybe guilty, maybe resentful, especially if the relationship has dragged you into things that aren't right, or just sucked all your energy away from your spiritual life.
Yep.
So much effort goes into just surviving the relationship drama, there's nothing left for God or for serving others. The relationship itself can become an idol without you even realizing it, taking God's rightful place. Our sources are clear. This kind of mixed love is spiritually dangerous if prolonged. Your heart, your body, they're meant to be temples, right?
Yeah.
They're not honored when you're stuck in chronic conflict and pain that doesn't get resolved.
And then there's that really insidious thing, the cycle of guilt and rationalization.
Yeah.
Where you almost become your own jailer.
Yes. This is so damaging because it messes with your internal compass, your conscience. You feel guilty thinking about leaving, especially right after a good patch or an apology. But then, when the bad stuff happens again, you feel guilty for staying, for letting it happen. So you start rationalizing, oh, nobody's perfect, they had a tough past, I just need to be more forgiving. Compassion is vital, of course, but constantly excusing serious hurt or behavior that violates trust, that clouds your judgment, you end up compromising your own integrity. That moral fog is a heavy burden. And at the end of the day, all of this, it steals your inner freedom and joy which God wills for you. It blocks that abundant life Jesus talked about.
So, after laying all this out, for someone listening who feels caught in this, feeling that wound, what's God's answer? What's the remedy? Where do you even begin?
Well, the powerful answer, the antidote, according to our sources, comes down to three things God offers: His clarity, His healing, and His holy courage.
Clarity. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like finally seeing things straight, cutting through the fog.
Exactly. Clarity isn't about harsh judgment. It's about seeing rightly. Being able to separate illusion from reality, emotion from vocation, infatuation from true communion. It's stated so simply. Clarity is mercy. It's God's kindness letting you finally see, okay, this part was real, this part was false. I can bless what was true, and I can release what was not. It's a doorway to freedom.
And then healing, which sounds like it's not just about the hurts from the relationship, but maybe even about why we reach for that kind of love in the first place.
Yes, that's a huge part of it. Healing is definitely being freed from the wounds inflicted, yes. But it's also about healing those parts inside us that reached for love out of maybe fear, scarcity, or ache. It's not about erasing the past, but about remembering it differently without the chains.
Right.
You get freed from any shame you might feel for being maybe too hopeful, too soft, too trusting. Because as the Source reminds us, those were never flaws. They show your heart still believes in love. Healing cleanses and strengthens that belief so you can love again, but from wholeness this time, not from neediness.
And finally, courage. The strength to actually do something with that clarity and healing, to make the hard choices.
Exactly. Courage is that divine boost. The strength to let go of what is half-hearted, to say no when something looks beautiful but isn't actually holy or whole, and to say yes only when love really is worthy of your whole self, that free, total, faithful, fruitful kind. It's about moving forward, led not by the tremble of your longing, but by the steady hand of God. That's God's remedy, setting you free from what holds you back and calling you towards the fullness of love you were always meant for.
You were never meant to settle for just a flicker of love that gets blown out by the wind. You were made for a flame that stays lit even through the storm. You were made for covenant, not confusion, for communion, not just craving, for love that bears weight and remains.